Good afternoon. It's Thursday, the 23rd of March. I'm Yael Shir, and this is IBA News, broadcasting live from Jerusalem. Londoners woke up to a sad reality today in the aftermath of yesterday's terror attack that struck in the heart of the city, killing 3 people and injuring dozens. Authorities warn the death toll could rise as some of the injured are in critical condition. The British-born terrorist had been detained by police in the past, and the Islamic State today claimed responsibility for the attack. More in this report from IBA's Margot Dudkevich.
In London, Westminster Bridge remained closed today, and a heavy police presence was deployed around the House of Parliament and stranded vehicles towed away from the site of yesterday's attack, where a terrorist rammed his vehicle into pedestrians on Westminster Bridge and then, brandishing 2 knives, attempted to storm the House of Parliament, fatally stabbing a police officer before he was shot dead. 2 civilians and a police officer were killed and some 40 injured in the deadliest terror attack carried out in central London in 12 years. A number of tourists were among the injured, including several French high school students. Police pulled a seriously injured woman from the Thames River. The identity of the terrorist is known to police, but they have not yet released his name for publication. Late last night, police raided multiple locations across the country and conducted a number of arrests. In Birmingham, 3 suspects were arrested during a raid on a 2nd-story apartment above a row of shops, believed to be the place where the terrorists live, and rented the car he used in the attack.
I'm here to update you on our ongoing counter-terrorism operation following yesterday's horrific attack in Westminster. Greater clarity is now developing regarding the casualty figures, as we've now collated the information from the public and from 5 hospitals. The latest figures I now have are currently only 4 dead and 29 people were treated in hospital. We're also still collating numbers of walking wounded. Sadly, 7 of those in hospital are still in critical condition. Tragically, the deaths included PC Keith Pharma, who is protecting Parliament, 2 members of the public, a woman aged in her mid-40s and a man in his mid-50s. The 4th man, of course, was the terrorist who was shot dead by armed police. It is still our belief, which continues to be borne out by our investigation, that this attacker acted alone and was inspired by international terrorism.
In London, forensic experts continued to sift through the crime scene, searching for clues. Hundreds of police involved in the investigation sought to determine what motivated the terrorist, his ties to terror organisations in England and abroad, and who assisted him to prepare for the attack that brought death and destruction to the streets of London. Within minutes after the attack, medics and members of the public sought to assist the injured and transport them to hospital. Members of Parliament attending a session in the House of Commons were placed on lockdown and all activities suspended. Hundreds of members of the public were taken to the nearby Westminster Abbey for safety. Last night, Prime Minister Theresa May convened an emergency meeting with the country's security echelon and then issued a statement condemning the attack.
The location of this attack was no accident. The terrorists chose to strike at the heart of our capital city, where people of all nationalities, religions and cultures come together to celebrate the values of liberty, democracy and freedom of speech. But let me make it clear today, as I have had cause to do before, any attempt to defeat those values through violence and terror is doomed to failure.
The Mayor of London said additional police forces would be deployed in the streets to enhance security and urged the public to rally together and not allow terror to dictate their lives.
We've got to recognise that the terrorists want to destroy our way of life. They want to harm us, and we've got to ask the question, why is that? And the reason that is because they hate the fact that when you're a Londoner, you can be a Christian, Jew, Muslim, Sikh, Hindu, Buddhist. We don't simply tolerate each other. We respect, we celebrate, we embrace each other. They hate the fact that we've got a thriving democracy where MPs can be voted in and voted out. They hate the fact we've got civil liberties and human rights. We've got a free press, and we've got to recognise that, celebrate that, and recognise today of all days when people are returning to work, whether in Parliament or City Hall or their offices, we're returning to business as usual.
Margot Dudkevich, IBA News.
Here at home, in a show of solidarity with the London attack, the Tel Aviv-Yafo municipality lit up its building with colors of the British flag, interchanging with the Israeli flag. Passers-by said they were very touched by the gesture.
I think it's a great thing. Israel always are very close to the British people, and we all try to fight terror around the world. And I think what's happened tonight in London it's a great shame, and I'm very proud that we put here on our building of the mayor of Tel Aviv the English flag. I'm absolutely emotional about it, and I feel very strongly for the British people, and we are with them.
I think it's an amazing gesture of Tel Aviv to do such thing like that. I think it's now people in London and England can feel how we feel almost every day when we have a lot of terror attacks here in Israel.
U.S. President Donald Trump's administration has reportedly demanded that Israel halt all construction in isolated settlements in Judea and Samaria, but will permit limited construction inside existing settlement blocks. Israel is said to have rejected the proposal. Reports out of Washington say the demands are the latest being discussed between President Trump's special envoy for international negotiations, Jason Greenblatt, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's chief of staff, Yoav Horowitz, and foreign policy advisor Jonathan Schechter in Washington. Media reports claim Greenblatt set out terms under which the U.S. will not oppose construction of new homes and settlements over the pre-1967 lines in East Jerusalem and would accept a number of new homes each year inside existing settlement blocks according to an agreed-upon annual quota. Commenting on the reports as he departed from China, Prime Minister Netanyahu asserted that, quote, significant progress has been made with the Trump administration on the issue of settlement activity. Speaking with reporters before boarding the plane, Netanyahu said talks between Israeli government representatives and the White House are continuing in Washington. The Prime Minister arrived back in the country overnight following a 4-day visit to China, which he described as a great success. Netanyahu said the visit helped to advance bilateral relations between China and Israel's economy, as well as improve Israel's diplomatic standing in international arena. He added that during the trip, 25 deals were signed between leading Israeli and Chinese companies, valued at an estimated $2 billion. Meanwhile, the highly anticipated meeting between Prime Minister Netanyahu and Finance Minister Moshe Kahlon, in which the two were slated to try to resolve the current coalition crisis brewing over the fate of the future public broadcasting, will apparently have to wait a bit longer, as the Prime Minister is reportedly feeling under the weather and his work schedule for the day has been cancelled. Upon his return home from China overnight, Netanyahu was greeted by dozens of workers from the Israeli Broadcasting Authority outside his home in Jerusalem. Workers whose fate remains up in the air protested the imminent closure of the IBA, which is slated to be replaced by the new Israeli Broadcasting Corporation known as Khan on the 30th of April. Some of our colleagues waved Israeli flags and carried placards saying, "Please save 1,000 families," and "Thank you for caring for public broadcasting." Employees requested that the Prime Minister stand by his promise to rehabilitate the IBA instead of shutting it down. On a personal note, since 1990, IBA English News has worked hard to bring you daily news from Israel in the English language. Unfortunately, the new broadcasting company, which is set to begin operations in May, has no plans to continue the English news. If this bothers you and if you do not wish to see the English TV from Israel go off the air, please make your voice heard. Contact the Prime Minister's office and the Communications Ministry at the address below, and maybe we can all make a difference. The Palestinian leadership intends to present a new peace plan to the upcoming Arab League summit in Jordan next week, aimed at resolving the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. This, according to the Arab League's Secretary General, Ahmed Abu Reit, who said in an interview published in the London-based Arab newspaper Asharq al-Assad yesterday that the new proposal focuses on the plight of the Palestinian people. However, Ahmed Majdalani, a close confidant of Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas, denied the report, saying there is no new proposal. He said at the summit, Abbas will reaffirm his support for a two-state solution and the 2002 Arab Peace Initiative that calls for the establishment of a Palestinian state along the 1967 borders and a just solution to the refugee issue. The Defense Ministry is threatening severe sanctions against a prominent pre-military yeshiva in the settlement of Eli after its dean made disparaging statements against women in the IDF. Earlier this month, Rabbi Yigal Levenstein made waves when he accused the army of promoting a feminist approach incompatible with Judaism and asserted that women who serve are no longer Jewish when they are discharged. Ministry Director General Uri Adam has summoned Levenstein to a hearing to be held next week at which the future of his B'nai David Pre-Military Academy's relationship with the IDF will be on the table. Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman has also threatened to expel the yeshiva from the Army's Hesder program, in which religious men combine Talmudic studies and military service. Last year, Levenstein also courted controversy when he described homosexuals as perverts. In related news, IDF Chief of Staff Gadi Eisenkot told a delegation of religious Zionist rabbis yesterday that religious soldiers will be allowed to undergo officer training in gender-segregated units, even as their secular counterparts continue in an integrated fashion. The IDF recently announced that it would begin gender integration of the Armored Corps. Police arrested a 19-year-old Israeli-American teenager this morning who is suspected of making a series of threats, including bomb threats to Jewish communities in the U.S., Europe, Australia, and New Zealand. The suspect, a resident of Ashkelon, made the series of threats over the past 6 months. A gag order lifted by the Rishon LeZion Magistrates Court today permitted details of the police investigation to be published. The suspect's home was searched this morning and his father was detained for questioning. Police said the FBI and other security agencies abroad assisted in the investigation. An Israeli police officer was suspended from duty today after a video clip aired on a social network that was given to police showed him assaulting an Arab truck driver in the East Jerusalem neighborhood of Wadi al-Joz. Public Security Minister Gilad Erdan condemned the police officer's behavior and lauded the decision to suspend him from duty until he appears before a disciplinary hearing. Footage showed the police officer engaging in a verbal dispute with the truck driver, whom he then punched and kicked. He then shouted at several bystanders, even kicking one, who intervened to defuse the situation. MK Bezalel Smotrich of the right-wing Home Party tweeted, quote, "This officer needs to go to jail today." It's been released for publication that Yair Katz, son of Welfare Minister Chaim Katz, is among those detained by police in connection to the alleged corruption scandal in Israel Aerospace Industries. In Rishon LeZion Magistrates Court, it has extended Yair Katz's remand by 5 days. Police investigators suspect Katz exploited his position as a member at the workers' union at the IAI to intimidate workers and promote his own personal interests, including forcing them to sign up with the Likud party. Over 12 workers, some of whom hold senior positions at IAI, and others who belong to private companies that provide services to IAI, were also detained for questioning in connection to allegations of corruption, money laundering, and fraud. The Beersheva magistrates has begun reviewing the plea bargain agreement signed with Arab Knesset member Bazel Ghatas, who was indicted on charges of smuggling cell phones to Palestinian security prisoners jailed in Israel. He was also charged with fraud and breach of trust. The prosecution presented the court with a plea bargain deal signed between Ghatas and the state, according to which the MK needs to confess to the charges, resign from the Knesset, and serve a 2-year jail sentence. This in return for the state dropping more serious charges of aiding an enemy and serving as an accomplice to terror. Last week, the Arab lawmaker held a press conference in which he claimed that ever since the affair broke out, he's been subjected to a biased and aggressive campaign, which included police sources who spread lies in order to create the illusion that he performed serious security offenses. A Swiss-Israeli firm called Space Pharma has constructed a miniature laboratory the size of a tissue box that has been placed in a tiny satellite which is currently orbiting the Earth, helping scientists conduct experiments that take gravity out of the equation. The satellite was launched into orbit last month by India's National Space Agency. According to the company, the first experiments have been completed successfully. The company says the mini lab allows researchers to work in microgravity for extended periods without the need for astronauts or space agencies, and assists them to make discoveries in many fields, from medicine to agriculture.
Space Pharma provides the first ever designed, launched, and commercial satellite laboratory that now is available for many clients wherever they are, in order to be able them to run their own designed experiment in microgravity without men in the loop, no astronauts, no space agencies, and this is the new technology that we are now proposing to the market in order to develop better drugs, better medicines, better research, and better products for humanity.
The winners of the Jerusalem Unity Prize, developed in 2015 by Mayor Nir Barkat in conjunction with the families whose sons were abducted from a bus stop in Gushi Etzion and murdered in 2014, have been announced. The recipients of the honorable award are the international Jewish learning community called Limud, as well as Tzav Pius, a group developed ways to bridge the gap between various women's minority groups in northern Israel. The prizes will be given on June 7th at a ceremony hosted at President Reuven Rivlin's house. And moving to entertainment news, Chaim Saban, the Israeli creator and producer of the Power Rangers franchise, including a series of films, TV shows, and toys, received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame yesterday in Los Angeles. Among the celebrities in attendance was Simon Cowell, who delivered a speech in honor of Saban. The original Power Rangers show, which debuted in 1993 and was called Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, is now in its 24th season, and it's one of the longest-running children's action series in TV history. Saban, born in Egypt, moved to Israel when he was 12. Following his duty in the IDF, he founded several highly successful entertainment companies, including a tour promotion business, a record company, recording studios, and Saban Productions, his international TV production and distribution company.
He's scary. He taught me how to be scary. But he is the most loyal person. He is so classy. Genuinely, I hope I grow up to be like you.
Well, it took us 2 years to get the script right, but I'm very proud of the movie. I think that young kids and young generation need superheroes these days. So when I put it all together, I'm very satisfied with the way it all came out.
And here's something for your appetite. A tasty new documentary film is putting Israeli food in the limelight. In Search of Israeli Cuisine, a documentary directed and produced by Roger Sherman, explores the diversity and uniqueness of the Israeli people through food, told from the perspective of an American-Israeli chef, Michael Solomonov. The film was conceived during Sherman's first trip to the Holy Land, where he discovered that Israel has a, quote, food culture that no one in the world knows about. The film follows Solomonov as he discovers various cuisines in over 100 locations throughout Israel, including the Negev, Carmel, and close to the Sea of Galilee. The film opens in select cities tomorrow.
We have a really strong saffron stock here. We're going to add salt.
And a reminder to all of our viewers, time flies, especially tonight when Israel switches to daylight savings time. It happens overnight when 2 a.m. becomes 3, and we'll need to move our clocks forward by 1 hour. For those of you who don't want to stay awake till 2 a.m., just make sure to move your clock forward before going to sleep tonight. Daylight savings time in Israel will last just over 7 months until the 29th of October. And in local money matters, shares were mixed on the last day of the trading week on the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange, while the shekel was mixed in foreign currency trading. Here are the numbers. Turning to the forecast, the IBA weather team says tonight will be partly cloudy with a chance of light rain. Tomorrow will be cloudy again with a chance of rain until noon in the eastern areas with unseasonably low temperatures. Here's a look at the highs and lows for the next 24 hours at home and abroad. That's all for this newscast. Join us again on Sunday, same time, same channel. Until then, I'm Yael Shir wishing you a good evening and Shabbat Shalom from Jerusalem.